Welcome to this deep dive. And today we're going to be talking about something I'm sure you're familiar with as a European procurement manager for outdoor furniture,
Mm-hmm.
sourcing sustainably in 2025.
Yeah,
It's a tough one
it is.
because, you got consumers who are really into these eco-friendly products,
Absolutely.
and you're trying to find suppliers who meet all the expectations
Yeah.
and comply with the regulation.
Of course.
And then on top of all that, you got to stay on budget.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle, for sure.
yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
It's navigating this whole landscape is no easy feat.
Right.
And those of us who've been in the industry for a while, we've seen it get increasingly complex.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's important to remember that, when you do this well
Yeah.
and you really nail it,
Yeah.
it can really pay off
Yeah.
for your brand,
For sure.
for your bottom line
Absolutely.
and for the planet, which is,
And the planet, that's the most important one, right?
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So you really can't ignore this anymore. I mean,
Mhm.
Eurostat data from last year showed that 72% of consumers are actively looking for and seeking out those eco-friendly brands.
Yeah, that's a huge chunk of the market.
It's a lot of people.
It is. And it's not just consumer preferences that are driving this shift.
Right.
We've got the EU Green Deal coming into full force,
Yeah.
and those carbon footprint taxes on imports starting in 2024.
Oh, don't remind me.
Those are going to be a major factor
Yeah, for sure.
in sourcing decisions. And, if you're not compliant,
Oh, yeah.
that could mean much higher costs for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's look at some specifics. We've got this blog post from Hongmao Garden.
Okay.
They're a potential supplier.
Yeah.
And they say they've sort of cracked the code
Interesting.
on affordable sustainability.
I like it.
So we'll see if their approach works for,
Yeah. Always good to see what other companies are doing
Yeah.
to tackle this challenge.
Absolutely. So they start off by talking about the essential certifications.
Okay.
And they call these like the entry ticket,
I like that.
for doing business in 2025.
Makes sense.
So that's REACH, BSCI, and EIA.
Yeah, those are definitely the big three. You got REACH, which is all about chemical safety, especially for things like coated metals,
Right.
finishes.
Mhm.
The EU has very strict regulations on substances like lead and cadmium.
Yeah.
And REACH compliance is essential
For
to avoid big fines
Yeah.
or even having your products blocked at customs.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants that.
So there was a study recently that found that almost 15% of imported furniture was actually rejected
Wow.
at EU borders because of REACH violations.
It's a costly mistake.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
A lot of furniture.
it is.
So
Yeah.
that's something we definitely want to avoid.
Absolutely.
So then we have BSCI,
Right.
which is all about ethical sourcing and working conditions
Yeah.
in the supply chain. So consumers are, really concerned these days about where their products are coming from,
For sure.
how they're made,
Absolutely.
and any hint of unethical labor practices can be really bad.
Yeah, it can be disastrous.
Yeah,
Yeah, for a brand's reputation.
absolutely.
Especially with social media these days.
Yeah.
Amplifying these issues so quickly.
One misstep and
Yeah, it can really come back to bite you.
for sure.
So yeah, BSCI is really crucial
Yeah.
for maintaining a positive brand image.
Absolutely.
And then finally, we've got EIA,
Mhm.
which is the Environmental Impact Assessment.
Right.
So this is all about assessing and minimizing the environmental footprint
Okay.
of your products right from the start.
So this is like, the EU's push for carbon neutrality.
Exactly.
Every stage of the process is,
Under scrutiny.
they're watching.
They are watching.
They're watching.
Yeah.
Okay, so are these certifications enough? Like, is that all we need to worry about?
Well, I'd say they're a good starting point. Okay.
But they don't tell the whole story.
Right.
Just because a company has those certifications doesn't necessarily mean they're operating as sustainably as they could be.
So it's not just about checking boxes.
No, it's about going deeper.
We need to look beyond the certifications.
Exactly. We need to understand the strategies behind those certifications.
Yeah.
How are companies making sustainable sourcing affordable?
Right?
What are some of the potential pitfalls?
Yeah, what should we look out for?
Exactly.
Okay, so we got the entry ticket figured out,
We do.
but it sounds like there's a lot more to this.
There's always more to uncover.
Always more. Let's
keep digging.
keep digging.
Yeah.
Let's dive into those cost-saving strategies next.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so we know those certifications are like the bare minimum,
Yeah, you got to have them.
but I bet you're thinking, okay, how do I actually make this work without, you know,
Right.
breaking the bank?
Yeah, that's the question everyone's asking.
Yeah. How do we make it affordable? Exactly. And that's where a lot of companies hit a wall.
They get stuck.
They get stuck. They see the importance of sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
but they're worried about the cost.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a budget buster.
Really?
In fact, if you do it right,
Okay.
it can actually save you money in the long run.
Okay. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So tell me more.
So Hongmao Garden, in their blog, they had this case study,
Okay.
and I think it's a really good example.
Okay.
It was this German retailer,
Okay.
and they were looking for a supplier for these eco-friendly planter boxes, but they had to be under 50 euros.
Okay, that's a pretty tight
It's tight.
margin.
Yeah. Their old supplier was quoting them over 65 euros per unit.
Oof, that's a big difference.
Yeah, they were in a tough spot.
Yeah, for sure.
So how did Hongmao do it?
Yeah, how did they pull that off?
So they had a 3-part approach:
Yeah.
material innovation, logistics optimization, and small batch trials.
Okay, let's break that down.
What did they do with the materials?
So instead of using like regular steel,
Okay.
they switched to recycled powder-coated steel.
Okay.
And that right there knocked off 12% of the material cost.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it just goes to show you that sometimes choosing a more sustainable material
Yeah.
can actually save you money.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Does that affect the quality, though?
that's a good question.
Like using recycled steel?
Yeah.
Does that make it less durable?
So actually, recycled steel can be just as strong
Okay.
or even stronger than virgin steel.
Interesting.
And since the recycling process uses way less energy,
Right.
it's better for the environment, too.
So it's win-win.
It is a win-win.
I like it. Yeah.
And plus, the EU is really pushing for that circular economy.
Yeah.
So recycled materials are becoming more and more in demand.
Makes sense.
Right.
Okay, what about the logistics side? Because
Uh-huh.
shipping can be expensive.
It can be, especially with all the supply chain issues lately.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So what Hongmao did was really clever. They used the China-Europe Railway,
Okay.
and they had this warehouse in Germany.
Oh, so they're already there.
They're already there. And that cut the shipping time from 45 days
Right.
down to 25.
That's a huge difference.
It is.
Okay, so faster shipping times.
Faster shipping.
But how does that save money?
So you're paying less for warehousing,
Okay,
less storage fees,
makes sense.
and you can turn your inventory over faster,
Right.
which is good for cash flow.
Okay.
And of course, there's less risk of delays.
Which can be a nightmare.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So less risk, less cost.
Exactly.
Okay.
And plus, shorter shipping distances
Right.
means a smaller carbon footprint.
Another win.
It is.
Okay, so we've got the materials, we've got the shipping.
Mm-hmm.
What was that third thing?
Right. So the last piece was their approach to order sizes.
Okay.
They convinced the retailer to do a smaller trial run,
Oh, okay.
just 500 units.
I can see why they'd like that.
Yeah, it's less risky.
They're not committing to a huge order right away.
Exactly, especially when you're trying a new supplier
Yeah, for sure.
or a new material.
Or new material.
So it's a good way to test things out.
Yeah, dip your toes in the water.
Exactly. And in this case, the trial run was a success.
They like the planter boxes?
They did. They were able to see the demand,
Mm-hmm.
tweak the design a little bit,
Okay.
and in the end, they launched the planter boxes
Oh,
at a retail price of $48.50.
wow. So under budget.
Under budget
And sustainable.
and sustainable.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good example of how it can all come together.
Yeah, so that's just one example, though.
Right.
Are there other cost-saving strategies
Yeah.
that we should be thinking about?
There are?
Like, what about sourcing locally
That's a good point.
in Europe?
So sourcing locally can be great
Yeah.
for shorter lead times
Mm-hmm.
and, less transportation costs.
Less carbon footprint from shipping.
Exactly, but you got to weigh that against other factors.
Okay, like what?
Like material availability,
Yeah.
labor costs.
And also the environmental impact of production.
Right, because it might be different in Europe than in Asia.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's a lot to consider.
There is. It's not always a simple answer.
No, you really have to look at all the angles.
You do. And
Yeah.
that brings us to another important point.
Okay.
Greenwashing.
Oh, yeah.
Not every company that says they're sustainable
Right.
actually is.
That's scary.
It is.
So how do we avoid that trap?
How do we spot a fake?
Yeah, how do we know if they're really sustainable? So
Right.
how do we make sure we don't fall for that greenwashing?
Right.
Like how can we actually spot a supplier
Mm-hmm.
who's truly sustainable?
Yeah, there's no foolproof method, unfortunately.
Right.
But there are some key questions you can ask
Okay, give me the questions.
that will give you a better idea of,
Okay.
their commitment.
All right, shoot.
So first off, ask them if they can provide a full life cycle assessment report.
LCA.
Yeah, LCA.
What is that exactly?
So a comprehensive LCA.
Looks at the environmental impact of a product
Okay.
throughout its entire life cycle,
The whole thing.
from the very beginning.
Wow.
Raw material extraction,
Right.
manufacturing,
Mhm.
transportation use,
Okay.
and then all the way to disposal or recycling.
So like everything.
Everything. It looks at energy consumption,
Wow.
water usage,
Okay.
emissions,
Mm-hmm.
waste generation.
It's pretty detailed.
It is.
Okay.
But that's why it's so valuable. It gives
Yeah.
you a much bigger picture
Yeah.
of a product's sustainability.
Than just looking at like one thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So as a procurement manager, why do I care about this?
Okay, so the EU has this new thing,
Right.
the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, CSRD.
Right.
And basically, companies are going to have to disclose way more info
Oh, no.
about their environmental impact.
Ugh, more paperwork?
I know, but it includes their supply chain.
Oh, okay. So I need to know about my suppliers.
You do, and having those LCAs will help you meet those requirements.
Okay. So it's not just like a nice to have.
It's essential.
I need this.
You need it. It's
not-
going to be mandatory.
Got it.
And plus, having those LCAs will help you make better sourcing decisions.
Oh, okay.
See where you can improve.
Makes sense. Okay. So what's the next question?
So ask about minimum order quantities.
MOQs.
Yeah, MOQs, especially for those trial runs.
Yeah.
When you're trying new sustainable materials.
Yeah.
If a supplier is really serious about sustainability,
Okay.
they should be flexible with those MOQs.
Because those high MOQs can be tough,
They can be a real barrier.
especially for companies that are just,
Yeah, they're just starting out.
dipping their toes in.
Exactly. They don't want to commit to a huge order
Right. Right.
until they know it's going to work.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
So smaller trials,
Smaller trials are the way to go.
less risk.
Less risk, exactly.
All right. Question number 3.
Okay, this one's all about packaging. Ask your suppliers if their packaging meets the EU plastics tax requirements.
Oh, that plastics tax is a pain.
It is, but it's there for a reason.
Yeah. Go.
Plastic waste is a big problem.
Huge problem.
And this tax is trying to encourage companies to use more sustainable options.
Okay. So what are some good sustainable packaging options?
So you've got things like recycled cardboard,
Okay.
biodegradable films,
Yeah.
and even some really cool new stuff,
Like what?
like mushroom-based packaging.
Whoa. What?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Mushrooms. That's crazy.
It is. There's so much innovation happening in the packaging world.
That's good to hear.
It is so many options out there.
Okay. Final question.
All right, this one's important.
Let me.
Ask about local support
Okay.
because things don't always go perfectly.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you want a supplier who can respond quickly if
Mhm.
there's a problem.
Yeah. You don't want to be dealing with like time zones
Exactly, or language barriers.
when you need something urgently.
Nobody wants that.
Okay. So those are the 4 questions.
The 4 key questions.
LCA MOQs.
Packaging and local support.
I like it.
Those will help you weed out the greenwashers.
Okay.
And find the suppliers who are really in it for the long haul.
The real deal.
Exactly.
Okay. So for our listener out there,
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about a lot today.
We have.
Certifications, cost-saving strategies.
Avoiding greenwashing.
Yeah. It can be a lot.
It can.
So like, what does this all mean for you?
Right.
You're out there making these decisions every day.
Well, I think the big takeaway here
Okay.
is that sustainable sourcing isn't just a trend anymore.
It's not going away.
It's not going away. It's essential.
essential.
It's about staying ahead of the regulations,
Okay.
meeting consumer expectations,
Mm.
and building a business that's going to last.
Sustainable business.
Exactly.
And finding the right supplier is key.
It is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
And I would say don't just think of them as a supplier.
Okay.
Think of them as a partner.
A per.
Yeah, find someone who shares your values,
Okay.
who's transparent, and who's willing to work with you
Uh-huh.
to find solutions that work for everyone.
I like it.
Yeah.
So one last thought before we go.
Okay.
We've seen how Hongmao is approaching this,
Right.
but their approach is just one way.
There are many paths to sustainability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our challenge
Okay.
to you, the listener,
Yes.
what questions are you going to ask your suppliers?
What are your priorities?
How are you going to make sure your sourcing decisions
Mm.
are aligned with your goals
Your sustainability goals.
and the needs of your business?
Yeah, it's all about finding that balance.
So take some time,
Reflect on what you've learned.
do your research.
Ask those tough questions.
Yeah.
And remember, you have the power to make a difference.
Absolutely. All right. That's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.